So there was like a lot of deja vu going on. And I think we should get right into it. What's up, you guys? Welcome back to So by Gigi 101. So today is Wednesday, which can only mean one thing. It's time for a recap, review, whatever, of Pretty Little Liars, The Perfectionist. So, you guys, tonight, secrets were revealed, and we got some pretty obvious answers. So last week, we know that last we saw, Mona was with Ray Hagedorn in like some weird secret lair. Allison had found Taylor in a trailer and she spazzed out and locked her in and drove off. Ava is pissed at Caitlin because she had revealed that she was the one who ratted her out. And Andrew and his boyfriend are no longer together because he had revealed to his boyfriend that he had slept with Nolan. So that's a recap of last week. Let's jump right into this week because tonight's episode was so quick that, like, you guys, I don't know, I just felt like the 30 minutes happened in 5 minutes in all actuality. So something that they did differently as far as the organization of the show was, they started off kind of with like what was to happen a few hours later on in the day and then come back and bring everything together. And I must say, it was a lot of sass going on in that clip, y'all. So much sass. Was confused. But I will say this right off the bat. Allison and Taylor did not have a lot of scenes, so we'll just talk about them right now really quickly, followed by Mona because she didn't have a lot of scenes either. So basically, Allison is in the trailer and Taylor drives off and then she stops and she comes in with like a tire iron and she's like, "You've got to go." And Allison's all like, "What? Why?" And Taylor, when explaining why she faked her own death, because she said someone was trying to kill her, again, sounding a lot like season 1 of Pretty Little Liars. There was some deja vu going on when Taylor explained why she was being killed. Deja vu from last week when I gave my theories, my first time giving you theories about this series. Can we just think about that real quick?
That Claire knows that Taylor is alive, but couldn't somehow figure out how to find where her own child is, which shows how much attention she paid to her. But brings Allison in because she knows She knows Allison's background history. Allison does in fact favor Taylor a lot, and I think she was making that Allison would find Taylor for her. I don't think Claire Hotchkiss really believed that Taylor was dead. I'm just gonna put that out there.
Yeah, I thought Taylor's excuse sounded really familiar. So, in case you missed my flashback, Taylor basically explained to Allie that the only reason why her mother hired her to work at BHU was because Allison was a lot like Taylor and she did not believe that Taylor was dead, and she felt as though Allison could bring her back because Allison and Taylor thought a lot alike. And so Allison spends all of 2 minutes convincing Taylor that she needs to go back because she thinks that she can help her find out who killed Nolan and this, that, and the third. And she finally agrees to it. Now, of course, this part was really, really fake. Because while Taylor was driving off initially, Allison looked at her phone and her phone went dead. I don't know anybody in this day and age that keeps a dead cell phone that is a millennial. Our parents, they keep dead cell phones. Our grandparents, they'll keep a dead cell phone. But a millennial keeping a dead cell phone, that's like unheard of. So that was already kind of weird. And of course, while her phone is dead, Mona, who is with Ray Hagedorn, is trying to communicate with her. So basically what it all boils down to as far as Allison and Taylor is concerned is Allison convinces Taylor to come back to help her solve the mystery. Taylor doesn't want to go back because she knows she's trying to be killed and she feels like her mother has something to do with it. She doesn't really believe it, but she has no choice but to believe it because she doesn't know who's trying to kill her. So Allison brings her back to their apartment, to her apartment, which used to be Taylor's apartment, and Taylor decides to go to sleep, and we find out at the very end of the episode, she actually escaped, or was kidnapped, whichever. Personally, I think she escaped, but to each their own. So we're done with that. Now let's talk about Mona. Mona's in the lair with Ray Hagedorn, and come to find out that Ray used to be a student and he fell in love with someone, but she succumbed to the pressures of HBU and he just decided to stay in this abandoned place, and he works as like the janitor, electrician, all-in-one guy, and that makes him invisible, and he is there to hear and see everything, and no one notices him. And he proved that because he explained everything to Mona, right? He tells Mona, oh, because Mona was like, well, maybe I will tell the school that you live here. And he said, oh, you won't, because you want to know about your little program. So he explains that he used to know Taylor Hotchkiss, and he was trying to warn her that she was in danger. And then she died. So she brings up the fact that Allison thinks that she could still be alive. And Ray said that he believed the same thing. However, if it is true, she should not come back and she should stay away. Which at that point, Mona whips out her cell phone, texts Allie, if you do find her, get her out of here. Don't bring her back. Which obviously Allie didn't get until she got home and charged her phone. So that was that for Mona and Ray. Then Mona goes to the student union with her little pawn, because remember, she was supposed to meet that virtual person that she plays chess with. And all of a sudden, freaking Booker comes over and picks up the pawn. Like, you know what I can't stand about Booker? Okay, let's compare Booker and Tanner really quickly. Tanner was a cop, and Tanner did her job, and Tanner had her speculations, and Tanner made slick comments, but Tanner didn't really go over too many lines, in my personal opinion. Everything that she did was within, like, legitimacy of her job role for the show. What I don't like about Booker is that even though Booker is not a cop, so therefore she does have a little bit more flexibility, she's still overstepping her boundaries as campus security. You are campus security. You have absolutely no jurisdiction to be having a full-blown investigation and being on top of people the way that she is. She invades their personal space, she touches things, and she does really, really, really messed up things, which we will talk about a little bit later on when we talk about the three main characters. So she approaches Mona and she brings up Mona's past with France, and she brings up Mary and Alex Drake, and Mona's like, I don't know what you're talking about, and Booker is all like, oh yeah, I did research, da 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 da, and Mona throws it back in her face, and it's revealed that Booker actually got fired from the FBI because she was so obsessed with solving the Jalali case that she started to do some illegal things to get information, and therefore she was fired from the FBI. And once you are fired from the FBI, you are done. Like, she's lucky she got a job as campus security. She's lucky if she would even have gotten a job working at McDonald's. Like, that's a federal job, and if you get fired from a federal job, you're pretty much blacklisted from life. Just throwing that out there. So Booker's face completely changes, like completely. And Mona was like, the funny thing about research is that it goes both ways. So good day, sir. And Booker just kind of walks off in complete awe, because you know what? It was about time somebody put Booker in her place. She was being absolutely ridiculous. And at the end of the day, Mona did not get to meet her mystery chess player, but she did put Booker in her place, which was probably like the most satisfying, gratifying moment of the show thus far, dealing with Booker. But this isn't the last time we hear of Booker in this episode. Oh no, because we still have the three people to get into. So last week, Caitlin had revealed that she was the rat to Ava and admitted that she, like, low-key ratted Ava out. In this week's episode, she eventually reveals it to Dylan. And I thought it was really funny because Dylan was just like, how could you do that? That was so disrespectful. Da, 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 da. But Dylan must have forgotten about what he did. But before we get to that, so Ava's completely pissed at Caitlin, and she calls like a little meeting of the Babysitters Club, and she's all like, I know how you're gonna help me. You know, you said that you want to prove that you have my back and that you're sorry. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna kidnap we're gonna kidnap Mason. We're gonna drug him with some antidepressant pills that Nolan gave me when I was really struggling with the paparazzi hounding me and the media hounding me here. And a certain amount will cause a truth serum, and we're gonna get it on tape that he killed Nolan because they're convinced by a gum wrapper, mind you. A gum wrapper. They're convinced from a gum wrapper that he killed Nolan. So at first, Dylan is all like, well, what does she have on you? Because at this point, he didn't know what the secret was. And Caitlin was like, whatever, I'll help you. Fine. So now they have plotted to do this. Now, something about these characters, number one, doesn't that plan sound familiar to you? It should, because it was probably one of the more recent crazy hacks that was done on PLL before the series ended. Hannah did the same exact thing, except she did it on her own. And how serendipitous is this? Because didn't Hannah kidnap Noel Khan? These names are so similar. So that was the first thing that I thought was super interesting. That was like direct correlation. She wanted to kidnap him and drug him and get him to confess. Well, I think Hannah just wanted to beat the crap out of Noel and get him to confess. But either way, there was a kidnapping situation and somebody was supposed to be confessing. So they decided to put together this plan, and Ava walks away. Caitlin agrees. Dylan agrees. And Ava walks away. So eventually Dylan and Caitlin are alone, and he's like, do you want to tell me what you did? And she did. She said, I kind of was the reason. I was a rat. I was the reason why, Ava was outed. And he's like, how could you? Like I said before, he's all like, how could you? And while they're conversing, Ava is off somewhere in the building getting ready for a fashion show. And she's going through all the images that are supposed to play on the slideshow when a picture of Dylan and Nolan pop up on the screen. And now she's just pissed. She's pissed at everybody. So they had agreed that Caitlin would lure Mason into the cabin in the woods where they had all gone before and found the wrapper initially, and she would drug him, and then they would get him to confess by taping it. So when they get to the cabin in the woods initially to meet, Ava storms in like a banshee and brings up the whole thing with Dylan and Nolan, and Nolan was like, I don't even think you guys were together. So then, of course, Caitlin is like, so you mean to tell me that you did this while I was with him? And he was like, well, honestly, when were you actually with him and when were you not? Nobody knows, girl. Nobody knows. And now everybody's just mad at each other, and Ava's decided that she's not friends with anyone. And I have to say, in this episode and in previous episodes, Ava is just quickly becoming my least favorite character. Like, I have a love-hate relationship with Ava because I get it. Ava has been through so much, and that is why the way she is. That is why she is the way she is. That's what I was trying to say. But it's like, I feel like she's always playing the victim, and she's always so quick to get mad at people for betraying her. But we're not going to talk about the fact that, like, you still have not told anybody what your secret is. However, and this is what I'm saying by I have a love-hate relationship with Ava. So as we saw last week, there was a little boxy charm that played Beautiful Dreamer. If you still haven't Googled it, just Google it. It's from Mighty Joe Young, like the original, not the Charlize Theron version. Listen to it. It's cute. So she got in the jewelry box to play Beautiful Dreamer, which was her song that her father had made for her. And she was just really confused as to what was going on. So throughout the course of this episode, she was getting all these hints about like her father being there. And at one point there is inside of her pencil sharpener, which is an old school desktop winder, there's like a little note with coordinates basically telling her that she needs to meet him here. And Ava's not dumb. Ava knows that something's kind of up, and she's unsure if that's really her father, and like she's unsure of what's going on, honestly. Obviously, she wants it to be her family, but she's unsure of like what is going on. So what ended up happening was that back in the cabin, they waited for an hour for Mason to show up, and Mason did not show up. No call, no show, nothing. For an hour, something he would have gotten fired for. And at that point, that's when they had decided, you know what? I'm not friends with you. I'm going to walk off. So Ava had grabbed the money and packed up all of her bags in her secret compartment in the roof, like in the ceiling of her dorm. And I guess she was packed and ready to run away with her father because she was just over everything. And this is, oh my God, I wanted to punch this woman in the face so hard. She goes into the forest and there's a flashlight and somebody walking towards her. And she's like, Daddy. And it ends up being Booker. And Booker is a huge male reproductive organ because she had done research on Ava Jalali's relationship with her father, and somehow found out that her father called her Dreamer and dedicated the song Beautiful Dreamer to her. And she had planted all these things, luring her to try and solve this case, which I don't even understand what she thought she was going to prove, because you're kicked off the FBI. So what do you think you are going to prove, Booker? Like, Booker, I can't stand Booker. Like, I really, 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 really just want to punch this lady in the face. I'm sorry. I know that's not nice, but she's pushing me there. So Ava had the bag, and this was the same bag that we had seen in previous episodes where all the cash was. And Booker was like, I'll make you a deal. If you have two choices, you can either give me the bag of the money, the bag with the money in it, and I guess she can skip off and prove whatever she needed to prove to the FBI, or you can keep the bag with the money and you tell me who killed Nolan. Either way, she's trying to find a way to come out on top. And so Ava throws the bag at her. And I think in that split moment, I was kind of hoping that Ava was just picking her friends over, but we all know it's Ava. So she throws the bag. Booker steps down and she goes through the bag thinking, oh, yes, this is it. And all it was clothes. So Ava was like, I'm not that dumb. You're going to have to do better than that. And you are literally the lowest form of scum on the face of the planet. And she walks away. And Booker yells out to her, that offer is still good whenever you want it to be. And Ava was like, well, you can sit here and just ponder about that, and maybe a bear will come and eat you. And she walks away, and Booker kind of gets uneasy, and she also walks away. Ava goes back to her car, and she had put the money in a black plastic bag and hid it in the glove compartment. Now, here's the thing. The equivalency of the weight of that plastic bag with the money in it versus what we were seeing in the actual bag doesn't add up, but we ain't gonna talk about that. That ain't never been none of my business. So she's sitting there and she's just kind of upset because, she's still a little girl. She still needs her parents, and, her father is not there. Neither is her mother. But obviously it was more like heartbreaking that her father isn't there. So she's sitting in her car and she's just like really upset, and she throws the money in the bag with all the clothes. And I think at this point she was contemplating running away, but she gets a voice message from Caitlin saying, I got Mason's phone. So what ended up happening back in the cabin was that when everybody had dispersed, Caitlin had agreed to stay behind and clean everything up. At that point, Mason had texted her and said, hey, running late. I will be there soon. She takes it upon herself to just go through with the plan without telling the rest of them. Mind you, the camera is still hidden. I'm sorry. And I think it's still running. And what happened, she decided to do it, go through with the plan. Mason comes in and he's like, oh, I brought food. Ava's like, great, I have your favorite whiskey. He's like, I'm doing a dry process, which means I'm not drinking anything with the crew team until after the season. She tries to like coerce him and he's like, no. So then she lies and says, oh, I'm feeling a little bit warm. And now I'm thinking maybe she's going to put the pills in like soda or water or something, but instead when he comes back in with the logs to start the fire, she whacks him over the head, and she grabs his cell phone and runs out and calls Dylan, and she calls Ava and tells them where to meet her on this road. She has his phone. Excuse me. Now, we see Mason lying there unconscious with blood pouring out of his head. And then all of a sudden his eyes pop open in another scene and he has a smirk, which leads me to believe that he knew exactly what was going on from Jump Street. Honestly, even before then, I had a feeling he knew what was going on. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not sure if she grabbed the camera because they didn't show if she did or not. So that's even more incriminating evidence against them that Mason now has, honestly. So Dylan gets to the meeting spot first, and they're sitting there, and she's like, yo, I got Mason's phone. And she said, I told Ava to come. And so then a car is coming, and they're like, oh, there comes Ava. Caitlin walks into the middle of the street to flag her down. Homie, Ava knows what you look like, and y'all are the only two fools at pitch black night, midnight, standing on the road. So she steps into the middle to wave her down with Mason's phone in her hand. And this car speeds up and bam, she gets hit. And once again, I'm thinking, Hannah, Pretty Little Liars, season 1. Remember that? When she had found out who the phone number was and Mona hit her with the car? Remember? Ava is on her way. The same car almost actually hits Ava, and she gets there and Caitlin is hit. There's no blood, but she's hit. And that is that. You guys, tonight's episode was like, ooh, this is too close to Pretty Little Liars for my liking, right? So number one, if you're following me on Twitter, which you should be, I live tweet every Wednesday. And I had said in the live tweet, I really don't think that that's Ava's father. I knew it wasn't Ava's father. I said last week that Roy Hagedorn was just going to be a red herring, that he was just going to be a character that could provide useful information, but I don't think he had anything to do with anything. And thus far, I am being proven accurate. I said that Claire Hotchkiss was pulling on this front, but she really did believe that Taylor was alive. And that she hired Allison to figure that out. I was right about that too. So you guys, there's just a lot going on. And I don't know. I'm enjoying the show. Don't get me wrong. I'm enjoying the show. You guys know I'm enjoying the show. However, I'm constantly going back and forth and griping with myself about just, I didn't really like that there was so much PLL correlation. I thought it was clever how I, Marlena King, did it, but at the same time, it's just kind of like, PLL is now done. It's done. We've laid it to rest, and especially because she included that conversation with Hannah, and we found out that Spoby are together, Emerson are no longer together. It's completely close, and Mary and Alex are now gone. That could be a spinoff of their own, like, where are the Drakes? Like, where's Waldo? Where's the Drakes? But I kind of feel like PLL is done and we need to just let it stay to rest. But aside from that, like, the show is really good and I think it's holding up pretty well on its own. And I have no doubt in my mind that it will come back for a season 2. The only thing is, how are we going to play it out in season 2? I like the differences. I like the fact that they're being more open about their secrets and that there are plot holes, but not half as many plot holes as there have been in Pretty Little Liars, where you're just sitting there like, what? What? This ain't adding up. But it's still a really, really, really great show. So I love all the interactions in the comments down below with you guys. And I'm sorry that this one was late. I happen to have gotten really great news right after the show ended, so I'm filming this a lot later, hence why I'm a lot more tired in this video and my energy isn't as high. But that is all. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more like it, or if you enjoyed me and you want to see more from me, you know what to do. You need to be part of the JG Meister Mer Pod Squad and come swimming with us on all of our adventures. How might you do that? You're probably asking. Well, it's simple. All you have to do is rate, comment, subscribe, and share, because sharing is caring, and I'll be seeing you in my next video. Loves and likes ya. Bye.